Stewie Gilligan Griffin, a genius boy with an IQ of 300. These are some of Stewie's most unique inventions in the Family Guy. Starting with the set goal, every evil genius needs a target to kickstart their career. For Stewie, it was eliminating Lois and the ultimate goal of world domination. Therefore, inventions for this purpose began to emerge. Right from the very first episode of the series, Death Has a Shadow, Stewie introduced his intelligence to the world by unveiling the mind control device. The device looked like a cheap toy gun, but had the ability to force others to do his bidding. His target at the time was Lois, but after several failed attempts, the test subject for the device ended up being the judge, who had ruled that Peter would lose his unemployment benefits. As a result, the judge voluntarily overturned the verdict for Peter.
All right, you're off the hook.
Oh, wow. Can you give me my job back?
No. Yes.
All right.
In the episode The Story on Page 1, due to his tiny body, Stewie is kicked out of the science lab, misses out on a super destructive machine at an auction, and can't even reach a snack on the kitchen counter. Realizing how inconvenient his size is, Stewie decides to create the hypnotic control device, this time targeting Chris. The device is compact and a significant upgrade from the earlier released mind control device. The whole hypnotic control device consists of a small signal transmitter attached to the target and a microwave used as a remote control to issue commands. Stewie commands Chris to grab an axe and go into the kitchen to assassinate Lois. However, the plan fails when the device malfunctions due to interference from the microwave, and Chris ends up chasing Stewie instead of Lois, forcing him to run for his life. During a visit to a show in Hollywood, Stewie took the opportunity to use his mass hypnosis device, a new mind-controlling invention. The mass hypnosis device resembled a pair of glasses with spiral-shaped rotating eyes as if hypnotizing, along with a signal antenna attached to the center of the glasses. This time, the device was capable of affecting multiple people in front of it rather than just one individual like previous versions. Clearly, Stewie demonstrated progress and investment in research and development in his inventions, but unexpectedly, the host of the show got hold of the glasses and Stewie ended up being hypnotized himself.
I like jump rope.
Also, in the first episode, Death Has a Shadow, when the mind control device was confiscated, Stewie quickly created a laser gun disguised as a sandwich. Although the plan to assassinate Lois failed, this might be the simplest yet most powerful weapon the little boy has ever invented. In the episode The Courtship of Stewie's Father, with the intent to assassinate Lois, Stewie created a drill attached to the head of a small aircraft. When attempting the assassination, he missed the target and crashed into a wall. Stewie learned a painful lesson and was mocked by Brian afterward. In the episode Stewie Kills Lois and Lois Kills Stewie, it seems all the viewers were fooled when everything happening in the second half of Stewie Kills Lois and most of Lois Kills Stewie were actually simulated events inside the simulation machine Stewie used to test the assassination of Lois and his plan for world domination. The machine looked like a 5D movie chair, equipped with a headgear that included a visor to interface with the brain during the simulation. In the simulation run, Stewie appeared to have everything. He killed Lois, ruled the world, but the entire plan collapsed when Lois survived, returned, overthrew his resume, and was ultimately shot dead by Peter. Perhaps after this, Stewie would need to run even more simulations to achieve the perfect outcome before he could carry out his dictatorial ambitions.
It's just been revoked.
Although he's a genius, in everyday life, Stewie still faces many difficulties. But with his brilliant mind, Stewie has invented things simply to make his daily life more comfortable. In the episode I Never Met the Dead Man, just because he didn't like broccoli, Stewie researched and found out that this vegetable can't survive in freezing temperatures. So he created a weather control device using toys and a broken antenna. When activated, the sky was filled with storms and lightning. As a result, the entire town of Quahog suffered, all because of a single broccoli floret.
Oh my god, I hit William Shatner.
In the episode Chitty Chitty Death Bang, to fight off a man in a white coat, mistakenly believed to be someone intending to return him to Lois's womb, Stewie decided to travel to Managua for help. At the airport, security staff assumed Stewie was a lost child and brought him into the waiting room, intending to gather information and contact his family. To escape, Stewie pulled out a freeze gun from his backpack. It emitted a red energy beam that could freeze a target for 10 years. With a single shot, the security guard was completely frozen and Stewie made his escape. In the episode Mission Impossible, when Peter and Lois decided to have another baby, Stewie felt that his position was threatened if that happened. To sabotage his parents' plan, the baby genius invented Peterbot, a robot designed to look like Peter and serve Lois in bed. Afterward, Stewie built a miniature spaceship capable of shrinking and flying inside Peter's body to destroy all the sperm inside. In the episode Patriot Games, Brian borrowed some money from Stewie, but when Stewie came to collect, he didn't have it. After beating and tormenting Brian nearly to death, Stewie resorted to a more extreme measure, a flamethrower. After turning Brian into a roasted dog, Brian finally withdrew money from the bank and paid Stewie back.
All right, let's go to the bank.
In the episode Sibling Rivalry, to battle over territory at the playground, Stewie confronted his longtime nemesis, Bertram, his twin sperm brother. This time, to counter Bertram's helicopter fleet, Stewie unveiled his own fleet of fighter jets. The battle was intense and destructive, but ultimately ended in a draw. This showed that Bertram might be just as much of a genius as Stewie, perhaps even more ruthless.
Well, now what?
Want to play 20 questions?
Sure. Is it a man?
Yes.
Is he famous?
Yes.
Is he under 40?
No.
Over 40?
Yes.
On television?
Yes.
On television now?
No.
In the past 20 years?
Yes.
Is it Richard Mulligan?
Yes.
In the episode Road to Rupert, when Rupert, Stewie's beloved teddy bear, was accidentally sold by Brian at a garage sale, Stewie immediately used a computer to extract DNA from the bill used to buy Rupert and found the buyer's information in the government's DNA database. Upon arriving, he found out it was a gift from a father to his son, so Stewie couldn't reclaim it. Instead, he challenged the man to a ski race to win Rupert back, even though the man had won numerous trophies in skiing. As it turned out, Stewie had prepared skis with rockets, a ski set equipped with 2 rocket boosters behind each ski, and even a lounge cabin on board while skiing. A true genius who knows how to enjoy luxury, even in competition.
Tea, sir.
Oh, thank you, Crone. You're so pleasant.
However, because he was relaxing in the lounge, he and his skis crashed into a tree on the slope and lost the race. Afterwards, they stole Rupert back, then even hijacked a car on the road to return home. After the rather childish inventions above, as Stewie gained more exposure to science, and while the world's top scientists were still debating theories of the universe, a child who hasn't even finished teething yet came up with the inventions that could be considered outright insane. From quantum physics to space-time travel, for him, these are mere child's play. Possibly Stewie's most iconic and most frequently used invention throughout the series is the time machine, first appearing in the episode Mind Over Murder, created while he was suffering from teething pain. To escape the pain, Stewie built a time machine to return to a time before his teeth started growing. He drafted a detailed blueprint and began building. The first version of the time machine looked quite rudimentary, resembling a toy gaming console with an antenna attached to the top. At this stage, the machine only had the ability to rewind time to a desired point rather than fully transporting someone into the part, as later versions would allow. Upon activating the machine, Stewie unintentionally saved his parents from a house fire, but immediately after, Peter tripped and damaged the time machine, causing Stewie's teeth to grow rapidly again, bringing back the same teething pain he was trying to avoid.
Well, shall we bite the tongue then? On 3. 1, 2, ah!
In the episode Road to Germany, while everyone was gathered at Peter's house, Mort needed to use the bathroom, but Meg was already using the one downstairs. So, Mort ran upstairs, and when he reached Stewie's room, he saw a small chamber and mistook it for a restroom. So, he walked in. At that moment, we are introduced to Stewie's Time Machine version 2.0. It seems that after the first version, Stewie continued his research, improved it, and completed the time compression technology, making time travel possible. Version 2.0 of the time machine looked like a public restroom. That's exactly why Mort mistook it and walked in. Around the machine's body were many wires and signal lights that lit up while the machine was in operation. This time, Stewie developed and invented the machine after getting bored with a toy called European Listen and Read. In this version, a user could travel back in time simply by walking into the machine and selecting the desired time to go back to. However, returning to the present required an additional device. The return disc. The disc would expand into a circular platform, and those standing on it would be transported back to the present location where the time machine was currently operating. Stewie and Brian traveled to the past and successfully rescued Mort, but upon returning, the time machine ran out of energy. Since time travel had to remain a secret, Stewie brought everyone back to the exact moment, 30 seconds before Mort had gone upstairs to use the bathroom, and suddenly pushed Mort, who had traveled with him, back into the time machine and destroyed it. Despite the many dangers, this was perhaps the first time Stewie's time machine had given him such a thrilling adventure. After this, Stewie likely learned that time travel is incredibly dangerous and to always fully charge the machine before attempting to travel through time. After the version 2 time machine was destroyed, Stewie rebuilt an identical one, just like version 2, but this time, version 3 seemed to operate much more smoothly. The outer structure was identical to version 1, but the interior was upgraded, now featuring a control panel and a display screen that clearly showed the date and time. This time, Stewie and Brian travel back to January 31st, 1999, the exact day the episode Death Has a Shadow first aired, to retrieve the ball Brian had buried in the yard. Upon returning to the past, they felt uncomfortable because the episode kept being interrupted by cutaways, and Meg's voice was different as she was voiced by Rachel McFarlane at the time. Unexpectedly, Brian encountered his 1999 self and revealed details about the 9/11 terrorist attacks, which ended up drastically altering history. The United States plunged into a second civil war, nuclear weapons were used, and over 17 million people died. Realizing the mistake, the best friend duo decided to travel back to the past once again to stop Brian's foolish action and restore normalcy to America. In the episode Not All Dogs Go to Heaven, at a Star Trek convention, an exhibition of the science fiction series Star Trek, Stewie, a diehard fan of the show, manages to purchase a souvenir, a blueprint of the Star Trek teleportation gate. When the audience is allowed to ask questions to the actors during the Q&A session, Stewie is not chosen to ask, so he becomes determined to get his question answered no matter what. Back home, Stewie quickly completes a teleportation device based on a purchased blueprint. This version of the device is quite large, including a teleportation chamber and an external control panel. With the goal of teleporting the entire cast of Star Trek: The Next Generation, Stewie activates the machine. However, the first result is the unexpected teleportation of Quagmire and his girlfriends playing a game.
Alright, you girls ready? What's going on? Don't you laugh at it!
After teleporting them back, Stewie successfully brings in the Next Generation cast. After getting answers to his questions, Stewie spends the day hanging out with them. But after a tiring day and realizing the actors in real life aren't as amazing as their on-screen personas, Stewie feels the image of the Next Generation in his mind has collapsed. Disappointed, Stewie uses the teleportation machine to send them all back to where they were produced. In the episode Road to Vegas, while attending the Quahog Gay Pride Day, Brian entered a raffle and luckily won tickets to a Celine Dion show in Las Vegas. Naturally, Stewie was the one Brian invited to come along as his travel buddy. After packing their luggage to fly to Vegas, Stewie raised a question: why fly when we can get there instantly? It turned out Stewie had prepared a device called the Teleportation Pad, second generation instant transport device. The machine was hidden beneath Stewie's bed. When the switch was flipped, the bed folded away and lowered to reveal the advanced teleportation machine. Next to the control panel was a teleportation mat, on top of which was a signal antenna that emitted waves to facilitate the transport process. Stewie and Brian stepped onto the mat. Once the machine activated and electric currents surged through the air, they found themselves still in Stewie's room and assumed the device had failed. So they resigned to taking a plane instead. Unbeknownst to them, the teleportation pad was still completing its process. When it reached 100%, the machine accidentally cloned both of them and teleported the duplicates to Las Vegas. Thus, two identical pairs of Stewie and Brian now existed simultaneously, completely unaware of each other's existence, and with entirely different fates. In the episode Road to the Multiverse, to enlighten his best friend Brian about the unknown worlds and parallel dimensions that exist, Stewie introduced the Remote Multiverse Controller, a device that allows travel through the multiverse. At the time the episode aired, it seemed that Stewie was among the very first characters to inspire the concept of the multiverse or dimensional travel for later superhero films from Marvel, DC, or even Invincible. The Remote Multiverse Controller is shaped like a small phone with control buttons at the top and a small screen above displaying information. However, because the research was still incomplete, Stewie had only developed the ability to travel to other universes, not the ability to return. To expand their knowledge and dive into thrilling adventures, Stewie brought Brian to the town of Quahog across multiple universes to see how they differ. First stop, a universe where Christianity never existed, resulting in a city with extremely advanced technology. They traveled through many universes, including the Stone Age universe where everything remains in primitive form, a universe where America never dropped the bomb on Hiroshima, making Japanese culture widespread, a version of Quahog trapped in the Ice Age, a post-World War III wasteland. Stewie and Brian also visited parallel universes where they encountered unique and bizarre versions of themselves. A universe where everyone has two heads, one happy, one sad, a world where everyone has to poop at the same time, a Disney universe, a robot chicken universe, a universe with intentionally bad animation, a live-action universe, a universe in black and white only. Finally, they reached the dog universe, where Stewie discovered the flaw in the controller, but Brian destroyed the device to stay in a world where dogs were dominant and humans were kept as pets. There, they met Dog Stewie, who helped them return to their original universe using his own remote multiverse controller. However, they accidentally brought human Brian from that universe back with them. In his human form, Brian decided to stay behind and explore this world.
Don't worry, I don't plan to stay in Quahog. I'm gonna go out into the world and see what I can make of myself. I can be somebody here. Goodbye, Stewie. Goodbye, Brian. Maybe our paths will cross again someday.
Although the remote multiverse controller was destroyed, the appearance of the multiverse made Stewie and Brian's journey endlessly funny and fascinating. And did you know this is considered one of the best Family Guy episodes ever made under Seth MacFarlane's direction? Surely Stewie will invent something even crazier next time. In the episode Quagmire's Baby, Bitch Stewie is a version Stewie cloned from himself but with reduced intelligence, as Stewie believed the original must always be superior. At the time, Brian was also fascinated by the cloning process and asked Stewie to create Bitch Brian. These clone versions were initially quite useful, serving as time management assistants, helpers with daily tasks for Stewie and Brian, but because they talked too much, constantly made snarky remarks, and were just too dumb, they were eventually erased.
Well, I hope that doesn't happen to me! He took my dry cleaning, and I have no idea what he did with the ticket.
Yeah, this was not a fruitful endeavor.
When using the time machine to alter the past for the purpose of sabotaging and teasing Brian, Stewie was caught by Brian, and during their struggle inside the machine, it accidentally transported both of them back to the beginning of the universe. With no other way to return, Stewie decided to create an explosion using the return disc to make the time machine bring them back. Coincidentally, when they arrived home and looked into it, they discovered that the explosion Stewie created was actually the Big Bang Theory in human history. This also meant that Stewie was, in fact, the god who created all things in this universe, including himself.
The universe's cosmic background radiation, a kind of echo of the Big Bang, precisely matches the energy spectrum of my return pad.
What does that mean?
It means my return pad's explosion was the Big Bang.
In the episode The Big Bang Theory, Bertram travels 500 years into the past with the goal of assassinating Stewie's ancestor to eliminate his lifelong rival. Stewie and Brian immediately follow to stop him. Although they manage to take down Bertram, Stewie's ancestor, Leonardo da Vinci, is also killed by Bertram. At this point, in order to prevent the timeline from being disrupted and protect the future, Stewie decides to stay behind to take Da Vinci's place and sends Brian back to the future alone. While in the past, Stewie invents a cryogenic stasis device to freeze and preserve himself and buries his body at the coordinates of his current home, said to be discovered 500 years later. He leaves a letter for Brian, who then finds the letter, goes to the basement, digs him up, and discovers that Stewie is still alive and well.
Stewie, what the hell happened?
Oh, well, shortly after you left, Da Vinci's girlfriend showed up, so I injected her with my DNA.
You had sex?
In the episode Switch the Flip, in an effort to help Brian change things up in his life, Stewie invents the Particle Interchange Transporter, a machine that allows two people to switch bodies. After spending a week in each other's bodies, they decide to switch back, but just as they're about to, Peter and Chris walk in, causing all four of them to swap bodies, throwing everything into chaos. Stewie, now in Peter's body, is forced to go on a date with Lois, while the others carry the machine's core to him in order to reverse the process. However, during transport, they accidentally crash into a utility pole. The transformer falls onto the car and reacts with the machine's core, causing everyone in Quahog to swap bodies with each other. The entire town plunges into confusion. It's hilariously fresh to see the characters in completely new bodies while still retaining their unique personalities. A valuable lesson: don't mess with quantum physics. Do you remember at the beginning of the video when we mentioned the simulation machine? That was the first version of this device. In the episode Forget Me Not, to test the friendship between Brian and Peter, this time Stewie brings 4 people: Peter, Quagmire, Joe, and Brian, into a fantasy world using Simulation Machine version 2. This version has been clearly improved compared to its predecessor. Version 2 includes a central control panel along with many monitors to observe everything happening inside the simulation. In addition, there are multiple brainwave control devices. 3 wires are attached to each participant's forehead. The machine immerses users into a virtual environment and scenarios created by Stewie to test and evaluate possible situations. After the simulation is complete, the device even has the ability to erase the memories of the participants so they can return to normal life. Finally, going beyond the human world, when science and imagination are not enough to contain Stewie's genius, the peak of madness lies in the inventions that perhaps only Stewie could ever conceive. In the episode, A Lot Going On Upstairs, Stewie continuously experiences bizarre nightmares, so he invents the Digital Dream Interface, a mini version of Inception, to allow Brian to enter Stewie's mind while he's asleep, and help end the nightmares once and for all. After going through several dream layers, the two realize that Stewie's nightmare is actually a manifestation of his fears of disappointing Brian. From then on, Stewie no longer has nightmares, and the bond between him and Brian becomes even stronger. In the episode Big Trouble in Little Quahog, just because Brian teased him about his small body, Stewie invents a shrink ray. He then lures Brian in and shrinks him down to a tiny size. When attempting to restore Brian, Stewie accidentally steps into the ray himself and also becomes miniature. After many trials, they manage to return to the shrink ray but mistakenly press the tiny button, making both even smaller, down to the size of microbes. While navigating through the microscopic world beneath the floor rug, they manage to reach a computer chip that restores their size. But it also enlarges the monsters under the rug, giving them quite the scare.
My God! It worked! Stewie, you're a genius! No! Run!
In the episode Baby Stewie, fearing that he might grow up to be an idiot, Stewie invents a gene-altering device to control and edit his DNA. After inserting all the desired genes into the machine, Stewie begins the transformation but accidentally turns himself into a normal 1-year-old baby. Brian decides to change Stewie back to normal, but doesn't know how to use the device. After several failed attempts, Brian accidentally transforms Stewie into a monster. At that point, Brian uses Stewie's time machine to go back and stop Stewie from creating the gene-altering device, finally restoring everything to normal. And those are the Inventions, the most unique and outrageous creations of Stewie from the animated series Family Guy. This kid isn't just a smart baby, he's a physicist, a philosopher, and the ultimate destroyer. What we've shared here is not all. Stewie has invented many more gadgets and machines throughout the series. Would you like to know more of his creations? Leave a comment and let us know what you think about Stewie's wild inventions.